Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another special edition of a radio chat. Today, we have not just one, but two special guests coming from the real estate industry. And I'm really excited to see the different perspective that they will share with us. First, we have Peter. He's a founder of architectural firm Arcsign and has led his practice through more than 30 years of building and design services. Peter's passion for collaboration and rapport with his staff deliver the best possible quality and value for clients, including the ongoing coordination with client representatives, project managers, and consultants. The other guest we have is Maurice, on the other hand, is an experienced and successful leader in the building industry with over 20 years of experience. As a director of Arcsign, he is known for his expertise in reviewing construction documentation and navigating building permit acquisition. His focus is on ensuring a smooth experience for his team and achieving successful outcomes for all parties involved. Peter and Maurice, thank you both for joining me today on the radio chat. And if we could start with a bit of your story and how did you both get started in your architectural business?
My architectural story probably goes back about 35 years. I was raised from a family in the building industry, Italian background. Obviously, that stereotype of father being a concreter probably led me into this business. Safe to say, he didn't really want me to get my hands dirty, so he put a pen in my hand and asked me to become an architect instead. He felt that that was a better profession than working hard or working harder on the tools. So that's probably where my interest getting started in this industry came from.
Yeah.
Probably explains why my level of architecture and the type of work I get into is probably more of a practical background rather than a design-led background. I was fortunate enough after finishing studies to work with some well-respected architects who were very commercially savvy. They were my mentors, which again led me down the path of opening my practice and probably focusing on the business side of architecture and real estate at the same time. I probably have a great relationship with real estate agents and builders, unlike a number of architects who probably find themselves at confrontation with those two disciplines. But here at Arcsign, we've embraced all in the building industry, and we work cohesively to end up with great products.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And what about you, Maurice? How did you get started in the architectural business?
Myself, I guess similar to Peter, brought up with my father as well in the construction industry he was a cabinet maker and exposed to a lot of construction sites, and I guess my exposure and experience on site led me to my interest in architecture and building design. So that's got me going, and yeah, just continued with my studies and became what I am today. So we're just in a good position architecturally, and yeah, that's where it all began.
Awesome. Yeah. So the theme of this podcast is mainly linked back to the Red Bull board game. If we were to explain to a 12-year-old kid, what do you do in very simple terms? What would it be?
To a 12-year-old. Well, a 12-year-old, you're right. We need to simplify it. I suppose it's best said that we design beautiful buildings for people to enjoy.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. Okay.
There you
go. To an 18-year-old, it would be a little different, and to a 35-year-old, it would be different again. But for a 12-year-old, we're designing beautiful buildings.
Awesome, yeah. So How are you helping your ideal clients when you started your business?
How are we helping them? The majority of our clients have dreams, desires, briefs. I suppose the best way to describe how we help them is that we provide advice and suggestions to make them realize their dreams. The majority of our clients will also come with us with dreams that sometimes are difficult to achieve. Fortunately, unfortunately, we're happy to always talk budgets so that their dreams can become a reality. There's no point in designing buildings and allowing someone to continue dreaming only to realize they've got to wake up from that dream and they may not enjoy what's in front of them. So I like to think that we are practical here. We do dream, but we have no nightmares at the end of our dream.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So what do you find most rewarding about your profession? Like what really kicks you every morning, to get you to work?
Well, I think what gets me up every morning and continues is, a development, a self-development, and that we are finding solutions for our clients and finding one solution. And what drives us is that referral and knowing that we've made that person very happy and satisfied with the solution we provided for them. So it's a continual development for myself. And I think that probably stems through to our practice as well. We tend to find that the solutions are what drives this practice.
Okay. So what do you consider to be the biggest challenges facing your profession today? And how do you address them in your current work?
Challenges. Well, designing is not the challenge. I think we're finding that with regulations nowadays and keeping up to date with authority changes, they're probably our biggest challenges at the moment. I think it's fair to say that monetary or budget constraints are also a challenge. The rising costs of construction does make it challenging to be able to design and to fit within a budget. Designing is not the challenge. The challenge is everything else.
So it's more the environment around that's changing.
Yeah, it's the environment. Yeah, I remember when I first started, it was life was a lot simpler. We would be able to design some concepts, and the concepts would go through a planning stage, and they would be recognised as a concept or a vision. Whereas nowadays, I think planning has become so prescriptive where the concept is lost, and we're starting to prepare almost construction documentation at a design stage. So we've lost a little bit of innocence, and we've gone down the path of prescriptiveness in designing.
And how you guys are addressing that to deal with that sort of challenge?
How do we deal with it? Well, apart from medication and a good counsellor, I suppose the best way of dealing with it is to accept that this is the evolution of architecture and the building industry and where we are now. So I think it's best that we just accept and update ourselves with where this is all going and what's happening.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So how do you balance creativity and practicality in your design? And what factors do you consider when making design decisions?
Look, there's always that argument, form follows function or function follows form. I subscribe to form following function. It probably goes back again to my background in allowing myself to have a practical solution. It must go forward. It must be achieved. We probably don't dream. We allow ourselves and we condition ourselves to design in a practical sense.
Okay. So you make sure that the practicality of a design can be met within the constraint budget, essentially.
Yeah, I believe so. I find that there's no value in designing a building that just stays on paper. Our biggest rewards is seeing that we've been able to construct that building. Many times, I've seen this in most recent years, this notion of design, or sorry, not design, but value managing a project. Well, we may as well have designed it to that budget to start with, rather than designing to the dream and then managing it down. The end result is like a camel. It's a committee that designed the building. It should be mature enough to accept the reality of what the brief is, and to come up with the best possible solution for that brief within the constraints of it. Now, if it can't be achieved, then we're not here to just seek commissions for designing. We certainly don't want a reputation where we have a portfolio of work on paper and not on land.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, us as developers as well, sometimes we feel, architects can design a lot of nice building and so on, very nice concept, but you're right, the practicality and how do we put that into our feasible and get that to really work in today's environment.
That's correct. It's in my DNA. I can't permit myself to allow a design to continue if it's only going to be, retained as a dream. I think aspiration is one thing, but aspiration can also be developed to become workable.
Yeah. And the practicality of those designs is
that's correct.
Fundamental. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. If you go back to teach, if you can go back to teach to your younger self or teach your kids, what would you teach them?
What I teach them? That's easy. Patience. When I started, I realized that my pace was going to be gaining experience, and it's the right experience. And there needs to be continual growth in that experience. Time is not the only measuring factor. It's the quality of experience that you obtain. I recall talking to a few people that have had 10 years experience, only to tell them that it was the same year repeated 10 times. So I believe in quality, and gaining quality experience is where it's at for what I would teach myself. Well, when I say teach myself, I don't have to teach myself. That's what I preached. That's what I was doing.
Yes, interesting. If there's one thing you would want to do in your lifetime, what is it and why?
There are two things. One, maybe I'd enjoy the freedom to design without a budget. That would be great. And I think the other one, what would be really sweet, would be for me to actually engage an architect and see what it's like on that side. I would like to be the client for a change and see how that goes. I've never done it,
Right.
but I wouldn't mind doing that one day.
That's a good perspective to see what they can deliver and try to give you that dream on the other side, and then you challenge that perspective and see how far it can go.
That's right. I'd like to see what it's like on the other side. Yeah, maybe our clients are the way they are for a reason, and I'd like to experience their perspective.
Interesting point. Favorite things you do on your day off or on your spare time?
Yeah, it is. I cook, but I cook for feast. I like cooking for large groups.
Right. Some Italian pastas.
Well,
What's your favorite? What's your favorite?
My favorite is fusion.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like getting two cultures and clashing and coming up with something out of that.
Yep.
I believe Australia is probably the perfect place for fusion with our multiculturalism here. I see no reason why fusion cooking shouldn't be the way of the future.
That's nice. And then you add a bit of architectural aspect to it.
Yeah, the architect. Well, I like to think that whatever I do, actually, you're right. I do cook with colour. I enjoy colour in cooking.
Especially more of a presentation, yeah, of a dish.
Yeah, it is more presentation. Yeah, those who know me will know about my paellas and the colour that I bring on a 1 metre dish pan or a pan of paella. So you're right. It is about presentation for me.
Very
And
nice.
flavour.
And flavor, obviously. Yeah.
And flavour. Like my architecture.
If there's someone dead or alive you want to take to lunch, who would it be and why?
Interesting question. I'd probably take Robin Williams. The way his mind thinks, I wouldn't be going out to lunch with one person. I'd probably be attending a party with many guests. His mind is so active, and I wouldn't be bored as a one-on-one. I wouldn't have to look at the ceiling talking with Robin Williams.
And who's Robert Williams, by the way?
Robin Williams sadly passed away 12th of August 2014.
Yeah.
He was a comedian. You might know him from Mork and Mindy. I'm showing my age there, but he's an actor, a comedian with a very active mind, racy mind.
He was well known in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire, yes, I still remember.
Recall that? Yep. One of his bigger movies.
He can fit in number of roles, irrespective whatever
Yeah.
writing.
Well, maybe I feel like him at times. I'm putting on so many hats and characters when I'm racing from one meeting to another and trying to be a designer or a businessman and a cook all at the same time. So I think Robin Williams would be the ideal person to attend a lunch with.
Okay, excellent. Beautiful. And probably our concluding question is, if there's any question that I could or should have asked, but I didn't ask you, what would be the final takeaway from today's chat?
What could we take away? What do we need to take away from today's challenge? Well,
Open-minded.
be open-minded.
Yep.
Accept good advice, real advice.
Professional advice is
Professional
what
advice.
we offer. Experienced professional advice.
Don't look for the dream. The dream can be a nightmare. No point in searching for something you want to hear. It's very easy to find something you want to hear. Just keep searching. Someone will tell you what you want to hear.
Yep. Very good. All right, guys. So thank you very much for your time this morning.